My name is Ann Sermons Gillis, and I'm a member of Unity of Charleston. And I'm excited today to bring you a member of the Unity staff. This is our music director. I'd like to welcome Brad Henty. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Ann. Good to be here.
Yeah, so glad you're here. I love I talked about earlier, and I just love your lighting. I think that's really excellent. That's
Good,
impressive to me. Impressive. So we're going to
good.
start at the very beginning, and that is, where were you born?
I was born in Schenectady, New York. My dad worked for GE, so I was born there. And then we moved to Massachusetts. And by the time I was 8, I was in the South. I was in Florida, northern Florida.
Okay,
Yeah,
some people may not consider that the South.
yeah, no, I get that. Yeah.
Different country, I guess. Florida's a different country. And
Now, yeah.
yeah, and so when did you move to this area, the Charleston area?
In 67, when I was 13.
Okay, young. And what brought you here?
Once again, my dad was moving the family around. I related to the military families because we moved almost as much as they did.
Okay, well, are you married or single?
I'm married. I'm married to Frances. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And do y'all have any children? Or do you have any
No,
stepchildren?
we have, I have a stepdaughter and we have 2 granddaughters, and I've been with them since they were born. So that's been really, really great.
You're the real deal. Now we know you're in music, that you are a musician. You
Mhm.
play the guitar. Do you play any other
Mhm.
instruments?
A little bit of bass, and sing. Yeah.
And yes, and sing. Well, has that been your career path? Has it always been music?
It has. When I was 15 or so, I decided I was going to do that. I remember making a sort of a promise to myself that because I didn't know what I was going to do with and I felt like I had to decide right then. So I was away at boarding school, and I said, "Well, I'm just going to make a go of this." And so from then on, I started playing in bands. The end of high school, I went to University of Miami music school, and then I started working professionally after that. And it was a struggle for throughout the 70s. It was hard to make a living, but after that, things picked up really well for me.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. I think that music and spirit are very closely entwined. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how did you start your spiritual search? Was that through music or did it come in another way?
It came in another way. I was a big reader of whatever I could get my hands on. And I was really interested in the counterculture that was happening on the West Coast, like so many people. And but anyway, the Ananda Marga Yoga Society came to Charleston when I was 15, and they were downtown in an old house, and I went down and took some groups with them and started meditating. So I started. Actually, I may have been no 15. That's right. I was 15 when that happened.
Well, it seems like a lot happened when you were 15. You said that's when you made
Yeah,
a promise to yourself
that's right.
to make a living as music, and most people don't have any kind of decided direction at that point. So
Mhm.
you're a little bit ahead of the game. That's pretty amazing. So you were in the Ananda Amarga, and you were meditating. And how did you find unity?
Um, well, that was much later in life. I had grown up in a church in Florida, in Ormond Beach, that was a Presbyterian church, but it was not fire and brimstone. And it was very relaxed. It had a lot of when I think back on it, had a lot of similarities with Unity. And we lived right literally on the back of the church property. Our house was bordered on the church property, so it was Boy Scouts and choir and all kinds of activities at the church. And Then, tell me what the question was again. I was thinking about Florida.
Well, I was just asking, how did you find unity?
Oh, okay.
And you were
Yes.
saying that that was a lot longer after you had started
Yes.
your search.
So I stayed away from churches after that. I don't know why. I think after we moved to Charleston with my family, I went to a few churches in Charleston in the 60s, and that really put me off of organized religion. You know, the preacher yelling at me and all that kind of thing. And then the youth groups were really, it was really weird for me. And I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. Uh, Fast forward many years. So 23 years ago, I came to Unity with somebody brought me to Unity, and I got to the door and I literally did not even want to come in. I would kind of had my hands in the doorway and was holding myself in the door frame saying, you know, I don't think I want to do this. And then I heard the piano player that they had at the time playing a John Coltrane song named Naima. And I heard Naima, and John Coltrane's one of my favorite musicians and a spiritual leader as well, was a spiritual leader. And so as soon as I heard that, I said, oh, okay, well, I'll go in and give this a shot. And then from then on, I just went every week. So it was, I don't know, it's just one of those things. I guess I was ready for something like that.
Sounds like it. Sounds
Yeah.
like it. Well, through this music and your spiritual search and your meditation and all the things, what kind of philosophy of life have you developed?
Well, I guess I had been in some other groups, spiritual groups over the years. Um, During the early years of Unity, I worked with Duke Warren for a long period of time, who is my wife's uncle. He's passed now, but he was a big influence on me. And I studied a lot of different types of meditation. And we traveled around and went to Buddhist groups, did groups with that, did different meditation stuff. I studied with a guy that I considered to be an awakened master for a while, and just doing all that kind of thing, the usual thing. I didn't go to India because I had to stay here and gig, and but I did all of that other stuff and reading, and so my philosophy would probably be somewhere along the lines of of God is in everything, and everything is animated by God. And the older I get, the less I seem to know about this stuff. At one point, I had read many spiritual books, and they all started to sound the same to me. So I just kind of faded that out and became more interested in just novels and stuff like that. But I like being in fellowship with other people, and that's what's great about Unity and some of the other group things that I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely. The community is really wonderful.
Yeah.
So you went from doing a lot of seeking and maybe some complexity that narrowed itself down to single thoughts. And so you went for simplicity and then started having fun, huh?
Yeah, well, trying to have fun, you know, the mind gets in the way for me. You know, and I've been active in a 12-step group for the last over a year, and that's helping me a lot. That's helping me a real lot. Having spiritual principles organized in the steps, I really like that. So that's been good. And you know, I was probably one of the few things that I hadn't embraced all the way. So now I'm doing that. So.
Excellent. Well, in terms of what your role is at Unity, could you just flush that out a little bit more and tell us what you do in your job
Sure.
as the director of music?
Right. Well, I look at myself as the producer of the music and technology part of the service. Uh, as far as the technology goes, since the pandemic, we have gone to broadcasting on Facebook in a more complicated way, a more thorough way, and having all those cameras and interfaces for them. I haven't been doing that. I've just been doing music. I've gone to just being the music director. But before that, the whole PA system, all the sound, the visual stuff, everything. I was in charge of all that, and I would delegate and try to get people to help me with that because, of course, I didn't understand all of it. But right now, what I'm doing is organizing the music, picking the songs, or choosing from the songs that are offered to me from the people that I'm working with that week. And then making sure the music is solid, the charts are working for us, and that they're correct. I was talking to you briefly about having to correct all the music that we get off the internet or even out of a book. You know, a lot of times it's not correct. So we do that, and then we have a rehearsal almost every week. Sometimes we'll have one that's for 2 weeks worth of music, and then during the service itself, I cue everybody in terms of starting and stopping, and those that have played with me a lot of times at the church don't need all of that. But like this weekend, we had some new people, and I was cueing them. So it's like stage manager and producer and play guitar and sing. That's
Yes,
pretty much
because
it.
yes, because you do sing and play quite often, you know.
Yeah.
You really do. Well, I know that you have a passion for music, and I'm just wondering, do you have any other passions in your life or hobbies or skills? And
Yeah.
and also maybe accomplishments.
Okay. Well, the guitar has been a passion of mine, and I decided in the early 80s that the guitars that I was interested in were the ones built in the 50s and 60s, just the electric guitars. And so I went on a search for those. And by the time I was in San Francisco, living in San Francisco for many years, I had a business with the guy that I worked with in another business, and we bought and sold vintage guitars. So I did that, and I loved that. And then when I got to Charleston and bought a house, it turned into antiques because I had enough guitars and amplifiers. And so I got interested in antiques. And first I worked on refinishing antiques. I got hired by a guy. I did that. I was playing gigs at night and doing that.
Let me ask you, when you're saying antique, do you mean
Mhm.
antique musical instruments or antique furniture, or what do you?
No, furniture, and smalls and glass and mirrors and just everything. I'm rugs. I'm interested in the whole gamut of it. There's of course things that I know a lot more about than other things. Um, yeah, because like for example, Asian porcelains are such a vast category that you need to go to university for that for several years. And same with Persian carpets. There are so many varieties. So anyway, I got interested in antiques, and then I had my own store for a while, and then but I've kept it up. I have a lot of collections. I'm a collector, and I'm still interested in that.
Okay, and along with your passions and hobbies, I know that you have some accomplishments in the musical field. Could you tell us about those?
Well, when I was in the 70s, I started working some with a ballet company here in Charleston, the Robert Ivy Ballet. And we were already playing at the early Spoleto festivals, which started in, I believe, 78. And my band was kind of a jazz variety band. And we played at the early Spoleto festivals. And then I started writing music for the Robert Ivy Ballet. And But the high point of all that was we performed behind what they call a scrim, which is just like a curtain that's see-through, on stage at the Gilliard and a couple other places. And we played with the ballet. And that was in the 70s. And then when I found myself in the Bay Area in the 90s, in the center of the Bay, not in San Francisco, more like San Bruno, San Mateo area, there was a ballet company there, and I started working with them some, and wrote a little bit of music for them, and they used my music for that. And then I won Best New Band in San Francisco, in the South Bay area for blues. And we opened this incredible concert that had all sorts of blues luminaries and people out of the Bay Area music scene from the 60s up until that time. And we opened that. And then before that, I was in New Mexico. And in New Mexico, I got in this band that was a really fine, it's like we did Western swing and we did country, which was really the only game in town in New Mexico at the time in the 80s. And
that's a big switch.
Yeah, from jazz in the 70s to that. But I'd messed around with it. It wasn't too hard. And we toured all over the Southwest, all the way up to Wyoming, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, playing at the $1 Million Cowboy Bar, and playing into Texas, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. And I loved living in the Southwest. That was wonderful. And so I did that. And then since I've been back here from 95 on, I've played all sorts of stuff. I played with the symphony a couple of times when they needed an electric guitar player. And let's see what else. I was in a wedding band for a long time, and that was a really good money maker, but I've stopped doing that. I'm glad I'm not doing that. But I still do blues shows, and I, of course, spend the majority of my time on the Unity music.
Right. And what about, I know that you recently got an award. Could you tell us about that?
Right. Let me show it to you. I have it over here. So it's called the Low Country Music Hall of Fame. And this is the plaque I got. Let me see if I can get it to where it looks in focus.
A little closer, I think. And if you hold it still, well, we did see it at once. There was one point where we were able to see
it. Good enough. It says Low Country Music Hall of Fame, inducted October 16, 2022, Brad Henty. So the deal on that is there's a guy who was instrumental in having the Hanahan Amphitheater built. And he owns a music store in North Charleston, and I've been working with him for a long time, buying and selling things through him. And I was playing in the band that we were kind of like a Tonight Show orchestra. We would play in between the people coming up to receive their awards. So I had no idea I was going to get an award, but I did that. I played for 4 years straight, the first, second, third, and fourth years that they had this award. Myself and our sound man, Greg Levkus, is the drummer, and he played with us. So we did that. So I was very familiar with it, and then I was honored to be brought in this year.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations. That's quite an honor.
Thank you.
And I'm going to move to a little different topic now, and that is, do you participate in any spiritual practices?
Yeah. Well, I've also done yoga since I was 50, so 18 years. And then I meditate daily, so like I said, I've been meditating a long time. That doesn't really necessarily make it any easier.
So I think maybe technology has something to do with that. We do have so many things coming at us. our attention is fragmented at this point. So meditation certainly is the medicine for that.
Yes, it's helped me a lot, because I'm pretty squirmy of a person, and that's really helped me, and to calm my morning down and have some kind of focus to my morning.
Yeah, we should get a new group going, something like the Squirming Meditation Group. The
That's
Squirmers, the Squirmers. Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. And I just want to ask you if you have any words of advice or thoughts or wisdom that you might leave us with.
Well, in terms of unity, I think we're really the only game in town that the only church or spiritual center is probably more accurate to what we are at the moment, that A, features meditation, and B, is as inclusive as we are, as diverse as we are. And that extends to the music program too. It hasn't been a situation where people have said, well, you need to be playing the same music that the other Unity churches are doing, or you need to be doing things out of the hymnal, or you need to be playing Presbyterian or Protestant music, say. And a lot of Unity churches do all those things. So I think, if the people that have been exposed to Unity and like the music and like the message should hang in there with us. It's been a little slow coming out of the pandemic, but now I feel like we're definitely on the upsurge. And yeah, so I can't really give anybody any advice about anything. Every day I'm trying to get through the day and figure out what I'm supposed to do with my mind and with my music, and try not to freak out. So, it's the same for everybody. We're all in the same boat, that's for sure.
Well, that's very much what Plato said. Plato was asked who was the wisest person in the world. And after he did a lot of research, he said, I'm the wisest person in the world because I know I'm not wise. And so maybe saying I can't really give any advice is the wise advice
Yeah.
that you are giving. So thank you
Yeah.
so very much. I appreciate you being with us, and I'll see you in church.
Okay. Thank you, Ann. Bye.
Bye.